Numbers don't lie, okay? 82% of people do not use a high yield savings account. And if that's you and you do not have a high yield savings account yet, you're missing out on the safest way to grow your money faster than any other cash account with almost zero risk. But the thing is, APY rates are variable, so they're not gonna be locked in, right? These are 100% gonna change when the Federal Reserve Bank of the United States decides to change interest rates. What you don't wanna do is go choose a high yield savings account only because it has the highest APY that you can find out there right now. You have to make sure that that account has a lot of really good features that you like. No hidden fees, no monthly maintenance fees, no overdrafting, no minimum balance requirements. And if they have those, at least that it's really low. And you gotta make sure you check reviews online about customer service and mobile banking experiences, because those are things that really matter too. But where can you go to get the best high yield savings account right now? Let's start with online banks. The primary way that they intended for people to access their account was through a laptop, a PC, or a computer. They might or might not offer you an app because that's just really not the central focus. Now, a lot of them do, and if they do, it's called a mobile banking app, but that's not the same thing as a mobile bank, which we're gonna talk about later. If an online bank does not offer you a banking app at all, that's gonna be a lot less convenient, especially for younger generations, because nobody wants to have to go to a computer or a laptop every time they wanna make a transaction from their bank account. Also, if you get paid by check, then you can deposit it right into your account through your phone. Some of the most well-known online banks that offer really good rates on their high yield savings accounts are Ally Bank, Synchrony Bank, Varo Bank, American Express National Bank, and Green Dot Bank. No matter how hard you look, you will not find physical locations or branches for any of these banks because they don't have branches. They carry out all their customer transactions online. And these online banks that I mentioned all went through the process of becoming legit real banks in their own right, which is really not easy. If you haven't seen the Netflix show Bank of Dave, this is based on a real story of this guy named Dave who had to jump through so many hoops just to open a real legit bank in Britain. And the movie just goes to show you, the system is not designed so that anybody could just get up one day and go open a real chartered bank. You have to spend a lot of time, a lot of resources, a lot of money to get that done. Many companies out there, they just don't want to do that. A lot of fintech companies don't want to do that, which we'll talk about in a little bit. There are some legit chartered banks that actually have physical locations and branches that created online-only divisions for their banks because they just saw an opportunity in the online banking industry as it was taking off, and they thought, hey, we should just create an entirely new bank, name it something different, brand it differently as a digital-only bank, and appeal to younger customers. Some examples would be CIT Bank, which is the online-only division of First Citizens Bank, and UFB Direct, which is the online-only division of Axos Bank. Data actually shows that 71% of fraudulent bank account transactions happen through mobile web browsers and apps because people just don't take privacy seriously and they use unsecured networks. Anything online can be hacked. So I would say that this risk is getting lower and lower every day because we're going farther and farther with technology and advancements with online security. Things like dual-factor authentication make online banking and mobile banking something that we can trust and feel comfortable doing. So now let's move on to banking as a service. Think of Chime, One, Dave, Wealthfront, Betterment. These are all mostly fintech companies that do not want to go through that whole rigmarole process of putting time and money towards applying for a real legit bank charter. They don't want to be a real bank. They want to focus on technology innovation. They want to hire software developers, not bankers. They want to create blocks of code that power the apps and make them faster and cooler looking and have all the better features, right? They let the bank decide how to invest your savings deposits, hopefully for a profit and not a loss. But this whole partnership thing really works out well for the banks too, because they don't want to spend a whole bunch of money to pay coders and programmers these high salaries to build the best apps or websites. Instead, they just want to focus on opening more customer accounts, serving more customers with better products and services in the financial space. So with banking as a service, the partner bank just gives the fintech company access to the bank's data, to all the data that they need so that they can load it into the app and show it to you on your phone screen. Chime gets banking services provided by Bancorp. One has services provided by Coastal Community Bank. Dave partners with Evolve Bank and Trust. Wealthfront partners with Green Dot Bank, and Betterment has a whole long list of partner banks on their website that's just too long for me to read. If you do use banking as a service, any of these fintech apps, you're always going to be at the mercy of acquisitions and mergers in the tech space. I don't know if y'all remember the Simple app, which came out in like 2009 or 2010. It was one of the first neobanks and digital banks out there. And they first partnered with the Bancorp Bank to do banking as a service, but then they got acquired by BBVA. So in 2021, BBVA shut the whole app down. They just closed down Simple, and any accounts that they had were transitioned to BBVA checking and savings accounts. It never feels good to be bounced around like a pinball because the fintechs are looking for their big break and the banks want to buy up everything and make all the profit. That is the perfect segue to number 3, which is a high yield savings account with an investment bank. For example, Marcus by Goldman Sachs, the Apple High Yield Savings Account also from Goldman Sachs, and then also the Premium Savings Account from Morgan Stanley. You can actually only get that through the website for E-Trade, which got acquired by Morgan Stanley. They do stuff like underwriting or helping with startups going public or doing an IPO, advising on mergers and acquisitions, giving financial advice to mega corporations or institutional clients. They manage assets for like the super wealthy, and they offer trading platforms so that people like you and me could go buy and sell stocks or bonds and other trading securities. You gotta be okay with banking somewhere that cares much more about the larger corporate entities and high net worth individuals than the little guys like you and me. And you also shouldn't assume that they're always gonna have the best features just because they have a lot of money. Because Marcus by Goldman Sachs says right on their website that they do not accept mobile check deposits through their app. I get a lot of checks in the mail for my freelance work, so that would not work for me. Okay, these last two are a lot less common, but they do exist. So there's a high yield savings account from a mobile bank, which means that you cannot log in using a website on your web browser from your computer or even from your phone. When you pull up the mobile bank's website, it just says, go download our app, because there's literally nowhere for you to log in with a username and password, like GoToBank from Green Dot Bank. Since the mobile bank is really only available through the App Store, you want to make sure they have a lot of good reviews in there before you download it and before you start using it. Finally, there's traditional banks that actually have physical locations or brick and mortar locations or branches that you can visit. So for example, there's Capital One Bank. Now, that's pretty much the only major bank that I know that really has competitive interest rates. I know Citibank has a higher yield savings account, but it's just not as high as Capital One. So these big major financial institutions and banks that you see everywhere when you walk up and down the street, they tend to give lower interest because they're traditional institutions and they're in the business of maximizing profit, but also because they have a lot of overhead costs. They have physical spaces that they need to maintain, buildings, they need to pay rent, they need to pay the people that clean those spaces, they need to pay the bankers that work there and the people that greet you when you come in, and they need to pay the people to load and unload the ATM machines. There's a lot going on in these physical spaces, so that costs money. An online bank or a mobile bank, they don't have any of those overhead costs. It's just online. So they just need to be able to pay for the web development or the app development, and they need to be able to pay for people to do customer service either through chat or on the phone. And honestly, the way AI is looking these days, you could be talking to a chat bot and you think you're talking to a person. So they can save a lot of money and cut those overhead costs, and that's how they can afford to give you much higher interest on your high yield savings account. If you're still scared and you're like, I don't know, I don't want to make the leap, don't be scared, okay? Almost every high yield savings account on the market is protected and insured up to $250,000 either through FDIC for banks or through NCUA for credit unions. And if you think about what inflation does to your money sitting in a savings account, you should actually be scared of leaving it in your traditional regular savings, because when inflation is high, every single savings account is guaranteed to be a financial loss. So you don't want to save too much, especially if you're young. You want to save a comfortable amount and then start investing. If you want to learn more about this stuff, watch my next video right here and go order my book, Mind Your Money. If you've already read it, go leave a 5-star review right now. It really makes a big difference with the book sale algorithms, and it means everything to me. So that's all I have for y'all. Till next time, peace.